Guys, what's up? Happy New Year to everybody. It's a brand new year, 2021. This is Master Jason Flame on the brand new Master Motivation. I won't call it a podcast. I guess it's more like a video cast, but I'm joined today by a good friend of mine and a phenomenal martial artist, Master Kevin Kowalczik. How are you, sir?
Hey, sir, how are you? Thanks for having me, man.
Dude, this is so cool because we all set our new goals for 2021 and some things we want to accomplish, and
Yes.
had a lot of fun interviewing some people over the last year in 2020, but none as great as the martial artists that I'm going to get to interview here in 2021. Some of the greatest leaders in our industry. Just man, a lot of people making a difference. So I was really happy to get started with you and make you my very first guest.
Oh,
So
man. Thank you. That's a huge compliment, huge honor. I
yeah, man.
appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
So coming from Colorado, Littleton, Colorado, you know, I don't know. Share with us real quick. Do you remember your first memory of us meeting? How we met at the Super Show,
Oh,
right?
man. Yes, sir. We met at the Super Show. I remember going to the Super Show. I think it was my first or second year going and watching you speak and listening to your presentation. And you hit a lot of really like important things, I think, that I was looking for at the time as a newer school owner. I tried a lot of things on my own. I tried to do a lot of things my way, and there's always a better way to do things. Sometimes I think there's a lot of ego in the industry. People think that they have all the answers, but really, there's people out there that are very knowledgeable and can give you great advice. So I think you opened my mind to a lot of things, and I came back and I applied a lot of things, and you started mentoring me and coaching me, and really helped the business take off. So I think there's a lot of great martial artists, great black belts, but not maybe black belts in business. So I think that was really super, super good turning point for me and for our studio.
Yeah, I remember. I think I remember the very first time that we met. I think it was like right at the booth after I spoke with Maya. So yeah, and we have developed an awesome friendship relationship over these last several years.
Sure, yes, sir.
And we've had you out to our school a number of times. One of the things that I admire most about you, number one, you're a great dad. You
Oh, thank you, sir.
bust your butt to do everything best for your boys and for your family. I really appreciate that. I appreciate that you're a follower in Christ and that we share that faith. And
Yes, sir.
I mean, dude, watching you do martial arts and teach martial arts. I mean, I've brought a lot of instructors into our school, and you're just one of the ones. I mean, I truly consider you one of our team, even though you're in a totally different state. We look to you for some training on our extreme performance training, and the instructors love having you out. We're getting ready to have you out, in a couple months, I hope, and several
Yeah,
times.
March for sure.
Yeah, and
Yes, sir.
the fact that and we'll talk a lot about your background and everything, but one other thing that I really admire about you is a lot of people talk about being a martial artist and to use Hackelman's partial artist, right? Some people are like kind of,
Yeah,
but you're the real deal because you're an extreme martial arts performer, but you've gotten in the cage for karate combat. And to me, having both sides of the martial art is just so impressive, and I love forms and I love fighting, but I have always really respected people that could put an emphasis on both. And I think that you've done a really good job of that.
thank you, sir. Yeah, I appreciate that. Um, yeah, I kind of started out when I was a kid, doing a little bit of everything, doing forms, fighting, weapons. As I got older, I got more into forms competition. I started liking forms more because I'm a smaller guy, and in point fighting, they're a lot taller, right? You got a lot of really big guys with reach and stuff like that. So I did a lot of point fighting, and then I started getting away from point fighting and focusing more on the extreme and things like that, which were just fun to me. It was fun to challenge myself in different ways, going to NASCA and NBL and WKC and some of these bigger organizations and competing. And I did that for so long, and I did really well with it, and I wanted to challenge myself still in some way in the martial arts. So it just drew me back to fighting. So I focus heavily on that now too, which is really cool because kind of like you said, it's a balance of the two. So our school does a lot of both. We get to do a lot of both, which is really cool. there's a lot of guys out there that they favor as an instructor or coach, they favor forms. So they primarily do forms to their people, or they're self-defense focused. They love self-defense, which is amazing because that's a huge asset of the martial arts, right? That's the the breakdown of what all martial arts is. But they only focus on self-defense. I think it's important to make sure, as a school owner, you're giving everything to your people. You're doing as much as you can. So yeah, we try to do it all if we can.
Yeah, I think it's important to give our students, different paths, like you say. You know,
Absolutely.
because especially for black belts, people that are training for years and years to earn their black belt, and it's kind of like what's left after that. And if you have a lot
Yes.
of other paths, whether it be Krav Maga, Jiu-Jitsu, extreme martial arts, performance, teaching, leadership, all of those things. There's so much more. I didn't get a chance to read this, and I just wanted to read your bio that we posted for you, and then we can get a little bit more into your background and growing up. But you started training in martial arts at the age of 5, which is about 30 years ago. You went on to win 9 world titles. You opened your first school in when you were 18.
Yes,
You
sir.
run one of the top sport karate teams in the country now, Team Revolution, sponsored by Century Martial Arts. You own and operate a successful school in Colorado, Revolution Martial Arts. Your team was featured in Black Belt Magazine as one of the top sport karate teams in the country. And you're still challenging yourself as a professional fighter, moving from point competition to full contact. We talked about karate combat.
Yes,
And
sir.
in the very last saying, father to 2 amazing sons. I've had the opportunity to spend some time with both you and Jet, and man, that kid is a riot. I mean,
Oh man, he's awesome.
your Snapchat the other day of him trying to flex and show the
Oh
muscles.
yeah.
That's dope. That was cool. So, hey, bring us back to the beginning. Little Kevin when he was that 5-year-old kid starting in martial arts. Tell us
Sure.
about your parents, your background, just so everybody knows a little bit more about you.
Yes, sir. Yeah, no, I started training, like I said, when I was 5, born and raised in Michigan, living in Michigan. Dad was a Marine, amazing, amazing man, great role model, great figure to me. Where I grew up, it wasn't a whole lot of trouble, but there was a lot of trouble that you could get into, you could say. And, I think my parents, they saw martial arts as a way for me to get some discipline, a little bit of structure in my life. Um, and they put me in martial arts when I was a kid, and it's just something that it was different, stuck with me. I did other sports, I did other activities, but nothing really grabbed me like martial arts did. Nothing really inspired me and challenged me like martial arts did. And there was never really a point where I thought of doing something other than martial arts. It was just something that just I knew it was down to my core, like who I wanted to be, what I wanted to do was be a black belt ever since I was a little kid. I remember training with Larry Lamb and Richard Brandon and some of those top amazing martial artists back in the day. Mr. Mike Chat, guys that really inspired me when I was a kid. And yeah, it's always been my path ever since I was a kid. I just knew it. And now having my son, it's really cool because he started training in martial arts, and I get to pass down my belts to him. So when he earned his yellow belt, I gave him my old yellow belt, so he gets to wear that. And when he got his orange belt, he gets to wear my orange belt. So it's really cool. It's this bonding thing that we kind of share. Um, and I started competing when I was a kid, about 9, 10 years old. Really got heavy into competing about 13, and got to travel all around the country, all around the world. I mean, it's just such an amazing thing. And I still have great friends that I've met in other countries, just through tournaments and traveling around and competing, that we still talk, through social media and everything. It's just, there's nothing else like the martial arts community. It's such a great community to be in. It's such an amazing group of people from around the world. So that's where I'm at today.
Yeah, man, and I totally understand the feeling of that pride of passing, your martial arts down to your son, because I have a son who's 15. You've had a chance to work
Yep.
with Mace and train
Mace
with
is
him.
awesome. Yeah.
And it's something cool. It's funny because my daughter did martial arts as well. My wife also is a
Mhm.
4th degree black belt. We have a tradition in our school or in our system where the only belt really that you passed down was your red belt. It was just something that my instructor did and
Oh,
several
that's cool.
instructors did. So we passed down our red belt, right? And so when my daughter came up for her red belt, I asked her, I said, "Hey, do you want to wear?" I made the mistake. I asked, "Do you want to wear Daddy's black belt?" She's all, "I don't want that old ratty thing." So she
Yeah,
says no, right? So I didn't even ask my son. I'm just like, he's wearing
you
it,
get it.
and It's so cool. It is so cool to
That's
share with
funny.
him. So tell us a little bit more about your school, about your world championships, some of your high level competitors that you have training at your school.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So I started our location here in Colorado about 13 years ago. Um, a friend of mine, good friend of mine, Mr. Cannell Lovelace, he has a school, Revolution Martial Arts, in Detroit, Michigan. They're both privately owned, but we met up together years ago at a tournament. And he had some really good competitors. I had some really good competitors. We're like, man, why don't we get together? What if we created this like super team? So we created this amazing team. We've got competitors now from all over the country, all over the world, Texas, Florida, New York. I mean, you name it. Some of the best sport karate competitors right now in the country, Team Revolution. It's just super amazing, blessing that we have. And we get to coach these guys. We get to watch them come up. We get to, drop some of our knowledge from when we were competitors on them and help inspire them. And it's really become more of a family than a team. It really is. It's something that's totally different that sets it apart from everywhere else. We'll have Zoom meetings and we'll get together like this and we'll talk and we'll train at tournaments and we'll hold camps and people will come together. We're talking about putting together a camp here in Colorado where we'll have people flying in from all over the country to come out and train for a weekend. It's really become a sweet family, a really cool, special thing. And then those competitors, some of them go out and they open their own schools and run their own locations and stuff like that. So it's really cool. It's a great network to be in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like we always say, there's no industry like the martial arts industry. We are
Absolutely.
it's such a different animal than anything else because we really do in our schools become more of a family than just a team or just a group of students.
Yes.
So let's get into the motivation aspect because my main goal this year was to bring people on that have motivated me, inspired me, given me knowledge, and I wanted you to share what were some of the things that you struggled with as a child and maybe even some of the things that you struggled with as a child that carried into your adult life.
Oh man, that's a really good question. I think when I was a kid coming up uh, in martial arts, as a kid coming up in martial arts, there was some always a little bit of bullying, right? That was a big thing. I think when I was growing up was, hey karate boy, hey come here karate kid, show me what you got. There was always people that wanted to test. You know, a lot in middle school, a little bit in high school, not bad. But I think that was probably one of the major issues that I saw growing up, coming up as a kid. And I see today kids, teenagers especially, especially if you can't keep them hooked in martial arts, if you can't keep them intrigued in martial arts, when they get into that position where they start getting bullied or all their friends are going off to do football or something else, they change and they take a different path because they're almost like embarrassed to be a martial artist, right? So I think one of the cool things for me was going through that, experiencing that, learning, on the other side of that, it's okay to have my own thoughts and my own beliefs, and it's okay to have confidence in myself that I don't have to be like everyone else. Just because everyone else is taking this path or playing this sport or doing this thing, I can make my own path and I can do my own thing. And because I've been there, I have that empathy to then pass that down to my students and my teenagers and my kids and kind of try to keep them motivated on that path, right? Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, only bullying. I mean, I got a good little bullying story I could share you if you want.
Yeah, let's hear it.
You remember old Jean-Claude Van Damme, right?
Yeah, of course.
He was my hero, man. I probably watched Bloodsport a million times. Hopefully my parents don't know that. They're watching maybe. I watched Bloodsport like a million times growing up. And anyway, so I had this kid that just kept messing with me for weeks on end. I remember I was in probably seventh grade, and I went, I talked to my teachers, and I did the whole thing. Right, kids, don't fight. If you're listening to this, don't fight. You can resolve conflict without fighting. Fighting should be the last resort. But I talked to the teachers, I talked to my parents, I talked to the principal. I tried to make friends with the kid. I tried to ignore the kid. I did all the steps, right? And one day he came up and he slapped my books out of my hand and shoved me into the locker. My head smashed into the locker. I turned around. I said, you know what? That's it. I've had it, dude. Enough. Enough's enough. And I had to finally take a stand at this point. And everybody, fight. All the kids crowded around in the
Right.
hallway. And I said, let's go. You think you're tough? You want to test me? Let's go. Throw the first shot, punk. And this kid throws this punch right at my face. And I don't know why, but I dropped into the splits right there. I could have easily ducked it or slipped. I could have just I could have moved, but instead I had to Jean Claude Van Damme, blood sport. I drop into the splits. This kid punches the locker, puts this huge dent in the locker, and grabs his fist and just starts bawling and crying. He was at the time the toughest kid in the school. We won't say any names, but he ran down the hallway to the bathroom holding his fist, crying. The whole school was just cracking up, laughing at him. He lost his tough guy status that day. And ever since then, it was like, oh man, don't mess with Kevin. He's like a ninja. Don't mess with that dude, you know? So it was kind of cool, but I got to beat the bully up without even throwing a punch. So
Isn't that crazy
yeah,
stories like that, right?
yep,
How it resolved the situation, and how that
easy.
switch just took place, right? The
Yeah,
bully went from being the tough guy to now everybody's like he's nothing, right?
exactly. And I don't think it was the fact that he hurt his hand. I think it was the fact that I finally had the confidence to stand up for myself,
Yeah.
and that was
Good.
the big turning point, right?
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah,
and we deal with, the thing is we deal with bullies as adults too, right? I mean, social media has become a
horrible.
great it's become a great powerful tool, right?
Yeah,
It's a blessing and a curse at the same time because
everyone has
you,
an opinion, right?
it's well, one of my instructors just posted a Mike Tyson thing that says that people have gotten um, too comfortable online saying whatever they want to say without being punched in the mouth,
Yeah,
and
it's true.
and and I agree. I would love to say that things can't always be resolved in a fight, but at some point, there's going to have to be a little pushback and little something, right?
Yeah, well, the bully they like to pick on people that are easy targets, right? So as
Of
long as
course.
you continue to allow the behavior, and this is anything in life, right? Like you said, I tell our students this all the time: kids, pay attention and ask your parents because bullying doesn't go away when you become an adult. It's in the workplace, it's in social media, it's the neighbors, it's whatever. It's always something. There's always something. It never goes away. So there's a point where you can tolerate it too, and then there's a point where you have to take a stand. You have to say enough's enough.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, let's go. Let's go off of that. Who were some of the people that motivated and inspired you then, as a child? I'm assuming you're martial arts instructor,
Sure.
but who are some other people? And you can call out names because this is a great time to maybe share with them that people don't know what an impact they made on you. So,
Yeah,
give us
absolutely.
some people that inspired you, motivated you as a kid, and going up as into an adult.
Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, it was Larry Lamb and Richard Brandon. My instructor had them come out and teach some seminars. Kind of like I get to do now, which is super awesome. That it's like the tables a flip, and I get to go around to schools and other countries. I was in Germany last year, and I got to coach the German national kickboxing team. Like I get really cool, special, invites to do these amazing things. But when I was a kid, it was those guys that were the coaches that came in that inspired me. They were like the original Ninja Turtles and stuff like that. And watching those movies and seeing these martial artists and seeing like the potential, like man, if I actually committed to this and I trained and I wasn't just like average and just came and took class, but I actually like practiced and tried to outdo myself every single time. Like the potentials are endless. Like look what you could do. Look at this path. You could be a competitor. You could be a movie star. I mean, I saw all these different avenues, right? And that was really really cool. As I got older, it was John Valera and Mike Chat. Those were like my two heroes when I was a kid competing, man. And I remember doing Camp Chat and working with Mr. Mike Chat. If you're watching, sir, man, you've inspired hundreds of thousands of martial artists all over the
Totally.
world. Yeah, you guys that don't know, he's the original Blue Power Ranger. He's one of the Blue Power Rangers. He's the guy that pioneered all of XMA. Like he
Well,
is the godfather, right? Mike Chat.
we will have Mike chat. He has agreed to be a guest.
Awesome.
And
Amazing.
it's funny. I was going through pictures, cleaning out our garage and stuff. I was going through some pictures, dude. I got some pictures of Mace, who's like 4 years old, taking a seminar in like this cut off sleeve uniform with Mike Chat. All these
Yeah.
pictures of Mike Chat. So, and man, to bring back names like Larry Lamb, Richard Brandon, John Valera. Man, I remember
Yeah.
watching John
Thomas.
Valera. Commas, dude. He
Oh
was
my goodness.
so good. So,
Yes.
so good. Hey, real
Yeah.
quick shout out to Brent Obio. Thanks for checking in, buddy. Hope you do get a chance to watch this. I know Brent is another one who loves training with you. He did a comma video, and I know
Oh,
for a
sweet.
fact that he was doing the illusions that you taught him.
Cool.
Shout out to Dawn, Miss Angeleri. Thank you. She
Hey.
knows your stories. What's up? Hey guys, do us a favor and make sure to share this story with everybody. Share it on your
Yeah.
timeline and let people take a look and listen up. And one more to the amazing Master, Mrs.
Uh,
Flame. What's
Miss
up?
Jackie, how are you?
So that's cool. Well, we got a bunch of people
Sweet.
watching right now, so let's keep rolling through some of these questions.
Very cool.
How and when did you start your career in your current field? And I know we had a long story. You told me the whole story
Yeah.
as
Crazy
I
story.
picked you up from the airport. So tell us the story of how you started your career and got started teaching martial arts.
All right. I'll try to give you the shortest version possible of a really long story.
Uh-huh.
All right. So, man, I was 18. Like I said, I grew up in Michigan. I moved out to California. I was going to do stunt work and I wanted to get into martial arts films and all that cool stuff. So moved out there with a buddy. We're living in this little tiny 1 bedroom apartment. I have no plans on opening a school. I have no goals about, open. Like, I'm like, man, when I'm older, when I'm like 35, that to me, that was like super old, which is not at all now. But I was like, when I'm older, my career's done, then I'll open a school, but I wanted to still train, right? So we found there's a little tiny Taekwondo school across the street. We'll keep names out of this. And it was right across the street from my apartment. And I thought, man, maybe I could go over there and maybe I could like train. I don't know if they have like open gym or anything. I wasn't really interested in taking classes, but maybe just practice a little bit here on the weekends. So I went in and there's a class going on and the instructor is on the floor and there's a student over in the corner and he's trying to do like a 540 kick and he keeps crashing and not landing it at all. He's real close. So after about 5 minutes of watching this kid practice, I kind of like walked over in the seating area and sat down and kind of said, "Hey, dude, you got to turn your shoulders a little more," and gave him some pointers. And the kid started landing it. The instructor noticed this and came over and said, "Hey, I seen you before. Did you do some tournaments?" And we started talking. And long story short, he goes, "Well, let me offer you a job." I said, "No, it's okay, sir. I appreciate that." But he says, "No, no, no." He goes, "I want somebody to run our competition team. Why don't you come in? I'll give you a key, run the place. I'll pay you." It was like $18 or $20 or something an hour for a couple hours on a Friday. And you can use the place whenever you want. So I was like, score. Yes, that's all I need, right? I can come in, I can train, done, right? He says, great. You start next week, Friday. So next Friday, I show up to teach my classes as they're escorting him out in handcuffs, putting him in the back of a police car, right? And I'm like, what is going on? What is going on? And the last thing he says to me is, you have to teach. You have to run the school now. So I'm like, what? Like, this is crazy, right? Well, come to find out, he did some things that he probably shouldn't have done. And he wasn't going to be able to be in the studio working with kids anymore. So I ended up having money that I'd saved up to try to purchase a car. I put toward buying the school. And I ended up opening my first school at 18, which I had, again, no intention on doing. But all these students that were there were like, we need somebody to lead us, we need an instructor. And I just took them under my wing and started going, and I was horrible back then. Oh my gosh, I was such a tough, like, it was bad. Every class was like fighting, every class was like brutal. If you couldn't take it, get out. I mean, we probably started with like 300 students, and within the first month or two of me taking over, we probably dropped to like 30. Like, it was bad. It was horrible. It was horrible. So I built some really good black belts, though. I built some really good martial artists. But then that was where I had to learn, like, okay, how am I going to do this? Like, how do you understand the business, and how do you, how do you juggle both? And there's this common theme in our industry that if you're a successful school owner, you're a McDojo or you're a sellout or whatever, which couldn't be any further from the truth. We have the best, like I said, some of the best sport karate competitors in the country, definitely in the state. We go around and we destroy people at tournaments, and we have a successful program. So you can have both. You can be successful and put out good quality martial artists. But that's how I started my first school, man. So it's crazy,
That's just
super,
such a
super
it's
crazy.
just it's even more funny hearing it the second time
Yeah.
and hearing some of the details that went into that story.
Well,
Just hilarious. It just goes to show too that like sometimes you just get thrust into a position of leadership even when you don't have any
yeah,
you just didn't have any idea of wanting to do that, right? And
yeah.
then here you are all these years later, successful school, successful students.
Well,
It's been awesome.
they say God's timing is always perfect, right? So, it might not have been my plan, but obviously there was a better plan. And I'm glad that I took that route because it did set me up for success in the future. So, it's crazy how life works, but it's a blessing. It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, real quick, Andrew Collins, thanks for checking in.
Hey,
That's okay. He's gonna watch at lunch too. He'll be another one. You know,
Awesome.
his you worked with his son,
Yes, I remember. We had some
Elijah. So
privates. Uh-huh.
yep, yep. So
Yep.
we'll see
Keep
him
working.
soon.
Keep working on those double nunchucks. We'll see you in March.
Yeah.
Better have them down. Better look good.
So what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced in your business? Of course, right now, I mean, we could talk all about COVID and how COVID has challenged us, but
Sure.
give everybody a little bit of motivation that we can keep doing this, and that even when you're going through the hard times, you know, the hard times just make us stronger. So talk about some of your hard times as a school owner, because you know I was there when you wanted to do CrossFit, and we
Yeah.
changed. You know, you did that and learned from that one,
Yeah.
and you've moved schools a couple times. So just talk about some of your challenges in business, some of your adult challenges.
Sure. Yeah. So we had this great idea, my ex and I at the time. We had this great idea that, hey, what we could do is we could open this like mega facility, right? This huge, we took out a lease on a 10,000 square foot place. I mean, it was insane. And, half of it would be designated for just CrossFit and fitness. So we got CrossFit certified. We did the whole, we did all the classes, level 1, level 2, level 3, did the whole thing, became instructors and coaches and owners. And then we had a martial arts program too. And the idea was like it made sense on paper. It was like, oh, it'd be great. Parents could go here and they could get a fitness class while the kids are doing a martial arts class, and like it worked out perfect. Or we could do a kids fitness class in this room, and then we could have like adult kickboxing going on over here, and like strategically it didn't work. Like it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare trying to find coaches to run both. The martial arts industry, if you're not careful, it can become very personality driven. Now we have a lot of phenomenal instructors that run our classes where even if I'm gone for a month or two, nobody even cares and misses me because our instructors just do such a killer job. But that back then it was very personality driven. So all the fitness people wanted me to, coach them in fitness, and then the martial arts people were upset that I wasn't over there, and vice versa. So trying to find those right key players, super important. And then, you have a mom that comes into your facility, and her child needs confidence. He's a little bit nervous. He's getting bullied at school and he needs to build some confidence up. And, you're trying to explain to him how martial arts can help. But the next room over, they're slamming weights and blasting AC/DC. And sometimes there's inappropriate music with inappropriate words. And you're just like, oh man, because you can't control it because you have a different coach over there running it. Right. So then you got to run over there and tell him, hey man, you can't do that. And it was just, yeah, it was not good. It was bad. So that was definitely a challenge, man. That was definitely a challenge. Other major challenges, I mean, other than like COVID and stuff, um, having a different challenge, I think that maybe we faced that other school owners didn't face or wouldn't face, but something that was different, at least for us, was when you are training competitors at such a high level, right? High level of competitors, you do get some of those kind of cutthroat parents. You do get some of those parents that, they're willing to kind of, stab this coach or that coach in the back to like get their kid ahead and move on and go train with somebody else or go to a different team. Or there's always those little politics that kind of play into it. So that's kind of an interesting thing that we face from time to time, just doing what we do that's a little bit different. Um, but yeah, I think those would be like the major things that stand out in my mind anyway.
Yeah, no, I mean, if anybody's ever seen Dance Moms or
Oh, there you
uh,
go. We could
whatever
have our own reality show.
whatever that show is, we
Dojo
should totally
moms.
Dojo Moms. That would be nuts.
Dojo moms.
Yeah, I
Let's
mean, but
go. Let's get it.
we learned that. My wife and I learned that even in travel baseball. You know, travel
Yeah.
sports. Anything that's high level
Anything high level.
competitive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
just kind of par for the course, unfortunately. But you know, there's also a way to build a culture, like you said, that's more family based and more, you know, working together, and a little bit less of that. It's a challenge. But talk about some of your current mentors. Who are some of your mentors now? How and why did you choose them?
So in business, I mean, there's a lot of great, mentors and coaches. I mean, I talk to you quite a bit when it comes to, stuff in the industry. I think you're phenomenal when it comes to like the martial arts business. As far as like competitor and competition stuff goes, Mr. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, shout out to Wonderboy. that's my dude right there. So we had him come out and run some seminars and train, do some privates and coaching. And I still keep in contact with him. He just had an awesome fight. If you guys just tune in and watch that last fight, he was the main event, won that. And we're hoping for him to have a title shot this year. But my next fight, I'll be going out to South Carolina and doing some training with him, doing part of my fight camp there. So that we're kind of putting together and talking about here down the road. But he's just an amazing. For anybody that doesn't know who Stephen Thompson is, amazing martial artist, amazing godly man. But he's a true, legit, down to his heart and soul, like good person. He's a really good person. And you watch him coach and teach kids classes. He drives the karate bus and picks up the kids after school. And, he it's like none of that's beneath him, even though he's like one of the top, strikers in the UFC, even though he's one of the best, fighters to ever walk into the octagon. This dude still gets down on one knee and ties on a yellow belt or ties on a white belt for a little kid and still teaches kids classes. And like, he inspires me to want to be that well-rounded martial artist, to be able to do it all, to coach, to teach, to compete, to be a good person, and he's also trained by his dad. His dad's his coach. So we got to kind of share some ideas, and I got to kind of pick his brain and talk with him about, like, what can I do to be a better coach for my kid? What can I do to be a better dad and parent and help my kid along in his journey in life, not just in martial arts. So awesome mentor. Amazing dude.
And you brought up his dad, but I wanted to talk a little bit about your parents, because when we've had conversations,
Yeah.
you've had a lot to say about your parents, and you mentioned your dad earlier. What kind of role in your life have your parents played for you?
Yeah, absolutely. My parents still together, 49 years. Crazy. Amazing people. Um, Always been supportive, but never been stage parents. That's one thing that I sit back and I look at is, as far as me and my martial arts journey goes, they were never the ones that were like, come on, let's go. You got to practice. If I'm going to take you to this tournament, you need to practice. You need to work hard. Like, never pushed me in that sense at all. Never were demanding of me to do anything. They just kind of let me take the reins and do it on my own. And they were supportive, which I think was awesome. I mean, I remember going to like huge national tournaments and seeing, the crazy dad that grabs his kid by the neck or by the hair and drags him off in the corners and screaming at him and belittling him and telling him how bad he sucked because he dropped his bow. And I was like, man, like that's crazy. That's intense. My parents, they would be like, hey, how'd you do? I got 3 firsts and a second today. They're like, oh, awesome job. Good job. Okay, we're gonna go to dinner. See you later. Like, they didn't care. Like, they cared, but they weren't like those helicopter parents. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Um, yeah, I mean, I remember my mom working 2 jobs, my dad working 2 jobs, picking up extra shifts and stuff just to pay to take me to a tournament. We couldn't afford to fly to tournaments back then, so we drove everywhere. Driving from Michigan down to the U.S. Open in Florida, that sucked every year. Like, stuff like that was crazy, but we made some amazing memories on the road as a family and traveling together and doing stuff and getting to see a little bit of each state that we went to. Um, yeah, my mom just always being super supportive, going out of her way to do anything she can to always help me. My dad being a role model of what it means to be a man, I think was huge. I think there's, that's a big problem that we have today is, kids don't know how to be men. They don't have that. And learning right from wrong and discipline and respect for other people. And a lot of the things that I was hearing from my martial arts class being echoed by this, amazing man at home, this Marine, um, that just, loved and supported there's 4 of us kids. I was the youngest of 4. But just seeing was more important than hearing. You know what I mean? Seeing him in action, the way he treated my mom, the way he treated us as kids, and how hard he worked in his work ethic and stuff like that. It was more of an example to me to sit back and to watch and see than it was to hear. Does that make sense?
Right.
Yeah.
For sure.
So super great parents. I mean, I was super blessed.
We haven't talked a lot about your siblings. Did any of your siblings do martial arts?
Yeah, so no, my brother was huge into basketball. He's a big basketball player. My oldest 2 are girls, sisters. One trained a little bit. They both trained a little bit. One trained a little bit more than a little bit, but neither of them really got their black belt. They just kind of dabbled in it, off and on. My sister Lori, if she sees this, shout out Lori Grant. She's like a grandmaster red belt. She's been a red belt for like 30 years. Red belt for 30 years. She needs to just finish at some point, but yeah, it was never really a thing to them. I mean, they just kind of played in it and dabbled in it a little bit, and it wasn't anything that was serious to them, which I think was another thing that was kind of cool for me because it was my own path. It gave me my own. This is what I'm going to do.
Right, right. Cool. Well, we have one person real quick. Give a quick shout out to Mike Norris. What's up, Mike? How you doing? Good to see you, brother. We went to high school together. We
Oh,
used to
sweet.
carpentry and workshop class, all that stuff. Dawn's laughing. I'm not sure what is that a
Dawn,
laughing face? I
yeah,
think
she's
she's having,
laughing at one of my stories.
yeah.
Dawn goes way back. So Miss Dawn and Vito, they run a really awesome school in Trenton, Michigan. And they were actually white belts of mine way back when, way back when. And I remember Vito, if he's watching, doing push-up class. It's always one of my favorite stories to tell. But yeah, and I was a ruthless instructor when I was a kid. I was probably 16, 17, and it was bad, man. It was, you didn't bow correctly, 50 push-ups. Your hands aren't at your
Yeah,
side, 50 push-ups. I mean, everything.
yeah.
So shout out to the Angeleries for still staying around and being martial artists lifelong. They were able to tolerate and deal with my ruthless training.
Good stuff. Hey, well, let's finish this up real quick with just some closing thoughts on what advice do you have to people watching this now or people that are going to watch later. Give us your motivational quip real quick to everybody.
As far as being a martial artist,
As far as life, martial artists, business, I mean,
yeah,
just anything that anybody watching, because I'm going to tell you right now, if you've ever looked at my friends list, I've got people from high school to top people in the martial arts industry to professional wrestlers and just, my family, everybody. So what do you think
absolutely.
that you could tell everybody that would just really hit home about what motivates you, what will motivate them, and let's help them make 2021 the best year ever?
Absolutely, y'all. The biggest fear I have in my life is regret. The biggest fear I have in my life is regret. You don't want to look back on your life, right? When you're 70, 75, 80 years old and look back at the things that you didn't do. Nobody on their deathbed sits there and goes, "Oh, I wish I didn't do that. I wish I didn't work so hard. I wish I wasn't successful at this or that," right? Everybody, though, almost everybody finishes their life and they sit back and they look and they think about regret. Go to a nursing home and talk to older people, and all you'll hear is the things they didn't do, the things they wish they would have did. So, I mean, if I could tell anybody going into 2021, starting a new year, do it. Be motivated. There's no reason why to not do whatever that thing is that you want to do, to start that business, to pursue that, that relationship, to, whatever it is, to get in shape, to get healthy. Everybody wants to be successful, but nobody wants to put in the work. Everybody wants to be successful, but they don't want to do the work that's necessary to get there. You got to just do it. You just got to suck it up and just make it happen. And sometimes that means sacrifice. There is no success without sacrifice. That's how it goes. There's no success without sacrifice. You want to lose that 20 pounds? Okay, lose it. Get off your butt, start eating healthy, get in a gym, drink water, start moving, start doing something that's going to be helpful. But here's what we do: we get up every day and we stare at our phone, right? We get up and we check Facebook and we check Instagram and we do things that are not helping us reach our goal, right? And then year after year, you set the same New Year's resolution. Year after year, you want to be better, you want to be more successful, you want to create a better future for yourself, but you're just lazy. You just got to get up and you got to do the work. I mean, that's what it really comes down to. So don't end your life with regrets. Do it now because you only have one shot. We only got one go around with this thing. We only got one life. Live it to its fullest. Be a good person, give back, work hard, enjoy life. And if you got something that you want to do this year, 2021, you got goals that you set, make it happen.
Great advice, great advice, and
There you
and
go.
just you can hear the fire in the voice and just that body language. You're talking about doing something, right? Because you and I are
Yeah.
both in it right now,
I'm
75
only in it
hard.
because you challenged me to do it. So
Well, and
and I'll tell you
Mr. Martin,
honestly too. I was telling Miss Margaret too. Some of our other students that are doing it too with us, the 75 hard. Yesterday sucked. Yesterday I did not want to do it. So if you guys don't know what the 75 hard is, I'm sure Master Flame can explain it. But 75 days in a row, right? And yesterday, what day was yesterday for us?
Today's 35, so yesterday was
34.
34.
Yeah, I hit 34 and I was just like, man, it's Sunday. I don't want to work out. I don't want to do it. I just want to chill. I just want to hang out with my boys. I just want to like relax. I got to
You
start.
wanted that. You wanted that whiskey too.
I did, man. I'm telling you, I did. And I said, you know what? And again, regret, right? Do I want to finish the 75 hard and you and our other friends that have doing this thing with us, like they all succeeded and passed, and you were the one person that wussed out? I was like, no,
Yeah.
hell no, get up and run, let's go. So I like motivated myself. I had to, man. But I got up and I laced up those shoes and went for a nice cold Colorado run, man. So it's you gotta work. You gotta want it bad enough, you know? I heard this story one time, and I'll end with this. And I don't know who said this. I don't know where this story comes from. But there's a successful older man, right? And he was standing older man. He's standing out at the edge of this ocean, right? And this young kid comes up and says, "Sir, how do I be successful? I want to be successful like you." He says, "No, you don't. You don't want it." Have you heard this story before? He says, "No, you don't. You don't want it. You don't want it bad enough." And the kid says, "Yeah, please tell me your secret." He says, "Okay, come out in the water with me." So the guy walks out about ankle deep in the water, and the younger kid looks back at him. He goes, "There's no way I'm not going out in the ocean. It's freezing. The water's freezing. It's cold." He says, "Come here, come out. I'll show you." So the kid comes out, and the guy goes deeper. Now he's about knee deep in the water. And the kid's like, "Dude, there's no way. I'm not going out there in this water. It's freezing. Like, just tell me from here. It's not that hard. I don't want to go out there." The guy's like, "Come out, come out." So now the older guy's about waist deep in the water. And the younger kid finally comes out to him and says, "Okay, I'm here. Will you tell me your secret?" Before he could finish his sentence, the older man grabs him by the head and smashes his head down in the water and just holds him underwater. And the kid's flailing and screaming, and he's trying to do anything he can to get up, and finally lets him up for air. And he says, "That's it right there. That's the secret. You have to want to be successful more than you want air. You have to want it more than you want to breathe. When you want your goals more than you want to breathe, when you want your goals more than you want air, you will succeed. You will do anything and everything you can to make it happen. But until you reach that point, you're always going to have an excuse, right? It's too late out. It's too cold out. I'm too old. I've got knee problems. I've got back problems. My finances, my wife, my this, my husband, my whatever. There's no excuses. You got to want it more than you want to breathe. So if you got a goal, you got to make it happen.
Yeah, again, I mean, just fire. I love it. It's awesome. The whole 75 hard thing came from my instructor, Mr. Cox, who challenged me literally, I don't know, a year and a half ago, maybe even 2 years, because he's
Yeah,
done it several times. And I was making excuses why I couldn't do it. Oh, I don't know what diet to choose. I don't want to cut this out. I don't want to do that. Because quite honestly, the 2 workouts a day, love it. The
yeah,
gallon of water, mm, pretty easy after the first 5 days. I mean, here we are. We're just drinking.
yep. Working on
And
that.
reading 10 pages, I was not a big reader for a long time. I would always say that I get sleepy when I read. I get tired. I get bored. But one of the things that I've enjoyed most is getting back into reading. And another guest that I'm going to have on here later, Jose Esbar. He's been posting a lot about his reading and his bookshelf. Man, that guy reads a
Awesome.
lot. And so and it's just like you said, you can make all the excuses in the world. I mean, I didn't want to read the 2 workouts a day. That's fine. Didn't want to
Mm-hmm.
cut out food because I love eating what I eat. But like here I am, 35 days in, with you, and I'm thinking the same thing. I do
Feeling
not
great.
want to be. I don't want to be the guy that just bailed. Like
Yeah,
I want to not only succeed at this, but now uh, I think just a couple days ago we had 7 more people
it's
join
awesome.
our group. Our master fitness group. If you're watching this right now and you're thinking of doing something to challenge yourself, I mean, I don't
This
get
is it.
paid, by the way. Nobody's getting paid for this interview. We're not promoting anything to get paid. But 75 Hard, Andy Frisella, go check him out. He cusses a lot, definitely drops a lot of F bombs, so probably not for the kids. But if you want some no nonsense, you were talking about all this stuff, and he calls it, excuse the language, he calls it the bitch voice, you know, and it's like, yeah, when we let that voice take over, it's easy
Yeah,
to quit. But when your boss voice takes over,
Yeah.
that's when you know you're on the right track. And like you
Yeah.
said, you didn't want to hit that workout yesterday, didn't want to do it,
Another,
but you did it anyway.
you got to do it anyway. Another good one's David Goggins. David
Oh
Goggins
yeah,
is another good one. Come here,
yeah.
Kai
I'm
Kai.
reading. I'm reading his book right now. I'm
Okay, go
reading
ahead
his
and get
book.
it, buddy. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's such a good
So
book.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. I've read that one already. That's a really really good read. Anybody that's looking for a good read, I'm right now. I'm in Wake Up Warrior.
Okay. Cool.
That's a good one too. I'll
I'm
have to
gonna
get
have,
you.
I'm gonna have to add so many more to my list because like I'll be done with this book. What it's called, Can't Hurt Me, right? David
Yeah,
Goggins.
can't hurt me
Um,
by David Goggins. Wake Up Warrior is good for businessmen
yeah.
specifically. I mean, it's good for anybody. Women can read it too, but it's specifically for businessmen. It's how to. It's basically the art of having it all. Like, how do you juggle being a dad and a husband and a business owner, and like, how do you deal with all these moving pieces, and not lose focus and lose who you are as a man. So that's a really good book.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to add it to the list. My next one already in the queue is Extreme Ownership, so I'll be reading that one too. But hey,
Awesome.
listen, let's wrap this up. Just want to thank everybody that tuned in to watch us. Make sure to share the video, guys. Mr. Kowalczik has a lot of great stories and I mean just a lot of motivation to add to your life. So please listen, like, share, comment. Follow me on Instagram at Master Jason Flame, Master underscore Jason underscore Flame. It's down at the bottom. And I'm on Twitter at Master Flame 201. And this will be on our YouTube channel. And we'll be posting the link again. I've got a couple more guests this month. Looking at next week, January 11th, I've got Master Brandon Kemmer, owner of Cutting Edge Karate, one of my training partners, and another phenomenal martial artist. On January 18th, I have Mrs. Sean Nelson, who is a unique consultant with thousands of women. Thousands of women. I've known this lady since our kids were in like preschool, maybe.
Wow,
And she's just one of those people that posts on Facebook, and everything she posts is so positive, so upbeat. I mean, she's just such a light, and she's, women could be brutal, right? But she's one of those women that loves to raise up other women. So
that's
I'm really
awesome.
excited to have her on the show. And then my last one for January 25th, I've got the pit master, John Hackelman.
Great.
So
Yeah,
he's gonna
awesome.
he's gonna have some crazy stories.
I'm
But
sure he will.
so tune in next week, guys. Every week, Master Motivation on Monday. It's 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Join us each and every week. Thank you, Mr. Kowalczyk, so much for all your
Thank you,
time. Thank you
sir.
for all that you do. Appreciate you so much. Our friendship, our relationship, what you've done here in our schools, and what you're doing for your students. So keep it up. You're awesome.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys, for tuning in.
All right, guys. Well, that's it for this week. We'll see you next week at 12 o'clock on Monday. It's Master Flame, and we out.